Chapter 1. There comes a point in everyone's life when they realize most of their potential is quietly drained by explaining themselves. Every time you announce what you are working on, you release a portion of the energy required to actually complete it. Most people don't recognize this leak, yet they feel it every time they share their goals prematurely. The enthusiasm fades, the urgency weakens, and the pressure from other people's opinions begins to reshape the once clear vision they had. Subhook: have you ever wondered why plans that felt powerful in your mind suddenly feel weaker after you talk about them? This is one of the biggest traps of modern life: the illusion that announcing your intentions is a form of progress. It is not. In fact, it often becomes the very obstacle that slows your momentum. When you talk, people react. Some doubt, some question, some discourage, some pretend to support you while silently hoping you fail. These reactions, even when subtle, begin to influence your thinking. Suddenly, your internal drive becomes entangled with external expectations. Silence solves this problem. Silence protects growth. When you decide to keep your mission private, you remove the unnecessary spectators who might interrupt your focus with their doubts, distractions, and opinions. You reclaim full control over your goals, giving yourself the freedom to grow without interruption and without pressure to impress anyone. Subhook: real progress happens when no one is watching, judging, or waiting for you to perform. Working in silence forces you to develop self-validation. You learn to rely on your own effort, discipline, and consistency rather than on applause. You stop needing approval to keep moving. You stop looking for shortcuts that will get you quick praise. Instead, you start building discipline, the one foundation that separates achievers from dreamers. There is something powerful about waking up each day and quietly improving yourself when no one expects it. The world cannot distract you from a mission it does not know exists. Silence gives you space to grow. It allows you to fail without embarrassment, restart without explanation, and evolve without commentary. When you remove the noise of outsiders, you begin hearing your own thoughts with clarity. You understand where you are heading, not because someone approves, but because you know the direction. Subhook: there is a different kind of confidence that comes from working in private. It is not loud, but it is unbreakable. But silence is not easy. It demands emotional strength. It demands patience. It demands the courage to keep moving even when no one is cheering for you. Many people seek public validation because it feels good in the moment. But validation is temporary, and achievement is permanent. If you rely too much on praise, you'll eventually stop moving when the applause stops. But when you master the habit of acting without announcing, your progress becomes self-powered. You build a momentum that does not depend on compliments or recognition. When you choose silence, you choose internal mastery. You begin noticing your own improvement before the world does. You start to understand that results speak louder than explanations. And when the time finally comes for your work to be revealed, the impact is far greater than anything you could have created through constant talking. People respect outcomes they didn't expect. They are amazed by abilities they never saw being developed. Subhook: your silence becomes your strategy, and your results become your announcement. There is a psychological advantage in surprising people. When you reveal only the final product, not the struggle, not the learning curve, not the mistakes, you demonstrate discipline, control, and strength. The world begins to see you as someone who delivers, not someone who talks. And this creates a reputation that is far more powerful than any verbal promise you could make. Choosing silence is not about hiding. It is about aligning your energy with your mission. It means you stop wasting time defending your goals, explaining your dreams, or convincing others why they matter. You redirect all that energy toward action. Quiet action. Consistent action. Action that compounds every single day until it reaches a level that cannot be ignored. This mindset separates those who wish from those who become. People who talk too much about their plans often lose the hunger to execute them. People who act in silence stay driven because every day they are feeding their goal rather than feeding conversations about it. Silence transforms effort into mastery. Mastery transforms you into someone who doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. Subhook: the greatest victories are prepared in the quiet hours when no one is watching. Your focus sharpens when you no longer seek attention. You become more intentional with your time, more selective with your habits, and more protective of your environment. You stop engaging in meaningless conversations. You stop entertaining doubts from people who haven't achieved what you aim to achieve. You become more aware of the gap between where you are and where you want to be, and you commit to closing that gap through disciplined action, not words. Eventually, the results start to show. You begin outperforming expectations. You start surprising people. They can't figure out how you improved so quickly. They wonder when you even had the time to develop such skill. They ask questions, but you don't need to explain. The work explains itself. The discipline explains itself. The silence explains itself. And this becomes your advantage. You win publicly because you focused privately. The principle is simple. Never tell people what you are doing. Tell them what you have done. It is a mindset of clarity, discipline, and strength. When you embrace it, you move differently. You grow differently. You achieve differently. You understand that the world doesn't need your intentions. It needs your results. The more you stay silent, the more you allow your actions to speak on your behalf. And when they finally speak, the world listens, because results make noise that talking never will. Chapter 2. There is a powerful shift that happens when you stop trying to convince people to believe in your goals. You begin to understand that convincing others is not part of the journey. The only thing that matters is convincing yourself through repeated action. Most people waste years defending their dreams rather than building them. They seek approval from individuals who haven't walked their path, haven't studied their craft, and haven't felt their vision the way they have. This misplaced desire for validation is one of the biggest sources of procrastination. Subhook: how much faster would you rise if you stopped explaining your targets and started executing them? Silence becomes a discipline when you realize that the world is filled with loud dreamers but quiet achievers. The loud ones talk endlessly about future plans that rarely happen. The quiet ones move differently, strategically, consistently, and without noise. They don't announce timelines, goals, or milestones. They don't crave applause for halfway progress. They simply wake up, focus, and produce. While the loud are busy talking, the quiet are busy accumulating results. People often fear silence because it forces them to face accountability. When you tell others your goals, they may applaud you for simply declaring them, giving you a false sense of achievement. But when you keep your goals private, the only validation comes from your progress. And progress requires work, real work, not verbal promises. Silence places responsibility on your shoulders alone. It eliminates excuses and exposes laziness. This is why only the disciplined master it. Subhook: silence doesn't hide your path, it sharpens it. When you work quietly, you begin to move with intention rather than pressure. No one is monitoring you. No one is waiting for updates. No one is expecting instant success. This freedom allows you to experiment, to fail, to learn, to grow, and to restart without embarrassment. When your journey is private, your mistakes remain private. This protects your confidence and allows you to refine your approach without external judgment. You also begin to understand that silence is not a weakness, it is a strategy. Every minute you spend talking about your plans is a minute you could have spent working on them. The most successful people are not the ones constantly broadcasting their efforts. They are the ones accumulating invisible hours of practice, invisible repetitions, invisible discipline. Their silence is not emptiness, it is preparation. Subhook: the world respects the result, not the rehearsal. Another truth emerges when you embrace silence. you become far harder to discourage. When you talk openly about your plans, you open the door to opinions from people who lack vision, discipline, or ambition. These opinions, even when meant kindly, can weaken your resolve. They plant doubt. They create hesitation. They distort your focus. But when your mission is private, the only voice you hear is your own. And when your voice is rooted in purpose, it becomes your greatest strength. People often misunderstand what it means to focus. They think focus is about working hard. But focus is really about eliminating what weakens you. Talking too much weakens you. Oversharing weakens you. Letting others influence your process weakens you. True focus is born in isolation, where only your commitment and your results matter. Subhook: silence turns your goal into a contract between you and yourself. No interference, no dilution, no distraction. As your consistency grows, something else begins to happen. Your standards rise. You no longer aim to impress anyone. You only aim to outperform your previous effort. You begin to measure yourself by your discipline rather than by public praise. You remove shortcuts. You remove excuses. You remove the need to be acknowledged. This shift creates an internal momentum that cannot be interrupted by outside noise. You realize that most people don't need to know what you are doing because they wouldn't understand the depth of your commitment even if you explained it. They only understand results. And results require silence, repetition, and resilience. Your work begins to compound. One disciplined day turns into two. 2 into a week into a month into a new level of skill, clarity, power, and ability. You grow quietly, but the growth is undeniable. Your focus becomes steady. Your habits become automatic. Your mind becomes sharper. Over time, you transform into someone whose capability is so strong that speaking about it becomes unnecessary. Subhook: when you strengthen your ability in silence, your ability speaks for you louder than any announcement. Another thing reveals itself. Silence protects your energy. When you talk too much about your goals, you give away emotional power. You allow people to influence your momentum. You allow their expectations to dictate your timeline. You allow their doubts to plant roots in your mind. But when you guard your mission, you guard your energy. You conserve your drive. You become more selective with what you consume, who you listen to, and what you allow into your mental space. You also start to understand timing. Not every moment is the right moment to reveal your progress. Not everyone deserves access to your vision. Silence helps you choose the right moment to show your results, when they are polished, undeniable, and ready to make impact. This controlled reveal shows strength, discipline, and mastery. Subhook: silence is not secrecy, it is control. Eventually, you develop a mindset that separates you from the majority. You become someone who acts without announcing, produces without performing, grows without broadcasting. And when the time comes to show what you've built, it surprises people. Not because you were lucky, but because you were disciplined long before anyone paid attention. This is the philosophy of focusing in silence and winning in public. It is a mindset of direction, clarity, responsibility, and relentless execution. It is the opposite of showing off. It is the practice of growing roots before branches. It is the art of strengthening the foundation before displaying the structure. Your silence becomes your power. Your work becomes your voice. And your results become your introduction. Chapter 3. One of the most overlooked truths about success is that discipline is far more powerful than motivation. Motivation excites you, but discipline transforms you. Motivation is emotional, inconsistent, and temporary. Discipline is logical, reliable, and permanent. When you choose to operate in silence, you are forced to rely on discipline instead of waiting for motivation to appear. This shift is what allows you to rise while others stay stuck repeating the same patterns year after year. Subhook: what would your life look like if you stopped waiting to feel ready and simply acted every day? The problem with relying on motivation is that it depends on mood. And moods change. Some days you feel driven, other days you feel tired, uncertain, or overwhelmed. If your progress depends on how you feel, then your progress becomes unpredictable. But discipline turns action into something consistent, even when you don't feel like doing the work. This is where silent achievers set themselves apart. When no one is watching, they still show up. When no one is applauding, they still continue. When no one is validating them, they still advance. Discipline is built through repetition. Not grand gestures. Not dramatic announcements. Simply repetition. The quiet, unglamorous, daily decision to do the work that moves you forward. And each time you repeat the action, the discipline strengthens. Silence creates an environment where this repetition becomes natural because there is no pressure to perform for anyone. There is only the pressure to become better than you were yesterday. Subhook: consistency is not about intensity, it's about identity. In silence, you begin to see your habits for what they truly are, the architects of your future. If your habits are weak, your results will be weak. If your habits are powerful, your results become powerful. Every disciplined action reinforces a new identity, someone who doesn't quit, someone who doesn't rely on applause, someone who doesn't need to announce progress to stay committed. You develop a self-image based on action, not intention. Silence eliminates distractions. The world is full of noise, notifications, conversations, comparisons, opinions, and endless digital chatter designed to steal your focus. When you operate quietly, you remove much of this interference. You stop seeking advice from people who haven't built anything. You stop comparing your progress to others who may be exaggerating their achievements. You stop chasing trends and shortcuts. Instead, you create a tunnel that leads directly to your goal. Subhook: your results multiply the moment you stop multitasking your life. There is also something deeply empowering about doing the work when no one believes in you yet. Most people want support before they start, but the truth is that support usually comes after results, not before. People trust finished products, not unfinished promises. They trust what they can see, not what you tell them you will do someday. When you understand this, you stop expecting people to cheer for you in the beginning. You stop taking their lack of support personally. You realize they simply cannot see what you are building until it becomes real. Working silently allows you to become your own source of support. You learn to encourage yourself through progress, not praise. You learn to push yourself through discipline, not attention. You learn to trust yourself through effort, not approval. This independence builds emotional strength, strength that becomes unshakable when challenges arise. Subhook: when you stop depending on others for motivation, you become unstoppable. Another powerful advantage of silent discipline is that it removes unnecessary pressure. When you tell people your plans, they create expectations. Even if they mean well, their expectations can suffocate your creativity and limit your freedom to learn, adjust, and improve. But when your journey is private, there is no pressure to impress. You can pivot any time. You can take breaks when needed, experiment boldly, and refine your strategy without explaining yourself to anyone. Silence also protects your timeline. When you operate privately, you no longer feel rushed. You don't compare your progress to someone else's timeline. You don't panic when things take longer than expected. You understand that mastery takes time, and you commit to the long-term process. Growth becomes something you nurture, not something you rush for validation. Subhook: long-term thinkers are always quiet, short-term thinkers are always loud. As discipline deepens, something else begins to emerge. Your standards elevate. You stop accepting low-quality effort from yourself. You stop tolerating excuses. You stop allowing laziness to disguise itself as rest. You hold yourself to a higher level, not because anyone is watching, but because you have made an internal commitment to excellence. This commitment begins to shape everything: your daily routines, your mindset, your patience, and your expectations of yourself. You begin to operate with a sense of purpose. Every day becomes an opportunity, not a burden. You stop waking up hoping to be productive. You wake up knowing you will be productive because discipline has become part of who you are. The silence becomes a space of transformation, where you evolve mentally, emotionally, and physically through consistent action. Subhook: discipline creates the life motivation only dreams about. Eventually, the compound effect becomes undeniable. Small improvements performed daily lead to profound changes that others cannot ignore. People begin to notice your confidence, your skill level, your clarity, your strength, and your improvement. They may wonder how you changed so quickly. They may think you discovered some shortcut or hidden secret. But the real secret was simple: quiet discipline repeated long enough to transform you. And when the world finally sees the results, you won't need to explain how you got there. Your habits will speak for you. Your success will speak for you. Your transformation will speak for you. This is the power of building quietly, focusing relentlessly, and disciplining yourself consistently. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. But it is life-changing. Chapter 4. There is a profound transformation that happens the moment you stop trying to be seen and start trying to become skilled. Many people chase visibility before they chase competence. They want recognition before they build mastery. They want attention before they develop ability. This is why so many individuals speak loudly but achieve little. They are more focused on appearing successful than actually becoming successful. True growth requires the opposite: a quiet devotion to mastery long before the spotlight ever turns toward you. Subhook: imagine who you could become if you replaced every moment you tried to impress others with a moment of improving yourself. Mastery thrives in silence because silence gives you room to make the mistakes necessary for growth. When you pursue mastery publicly, you begin to fear judgment. That fear limits experimentation, and without experimentation, you cannot grow. But private practice allows you to fail freely, learn freely, and progress freely. You don't worry about how you look. You only focus on getting better. This freedom is one of the greatest advantages of staying silent while you build. The most successful people in any field are those who devote themselves to unseen hours of practice. Their breakthroughs are not magic. They are the result of thousands of quiet repetitions. Hours of refining, adjusting, correcting, improving. These repetitions are invisible to the world, but visible to their results. People admire their success, but they rarely understand the amount of invisible effort behind it. Subhook: your private training determines your public performance. Mastery is not something you stumble into. It is something you build consciously, intentionally, and consistently. The louder you are, the less focused you become. Noise consumes your attention. Attention is the foundation of mastery. When you divide it, you weaken your potential. But silence gathers your attention into a single direction, making your growth sharper, faster, and deeper. One of the key elements of mastery is patience. Most people quit not because they lack talent, but because they lack patience. They want quick results, instant evidence of progress, immediate rewards. But mastery doesn't operate on that timeline. It grows slowly, then suddenly. It requires persistence long after motivation fades. The silence you choose becomes the space where this patience is developed. It removes the pressure of rushing just to show progress to others. Subhook: patience is not waiting, it is working calmly, without needing quick reward. Another critical part of achieving mastery is removing ego from the process. Ego wants to display early progress. Ego wants to be praised for doing the minimum. Ego wants to appear talented before actually gaining talent. Silence dissolves ego. When you are not broadcasting your journey, you are forced to focus on improvement rather than image. You build skill rather than chasing compliments. You challenge yourself instead of trying to impress others. Silence also helps you establish standards of excellence. In private, you begin to notice the difference between doing something well enough and doing it at a world-class level. You start to feel when your effort is average and when it is exceptional. This self-awareness creates a personal standard that becomes non-negotiable. You refuse to deliver anything below your capability, even if no one else will notice the difference. That mindset, doing your best when no one is watching, is the core of mastery. Subhook: excellence is not an act, it is a habit built in private. Mastery requires consistency, and consistency requires emotion-free action. When you operate publicly, your emotions become tied to your progress. You post your plans, they get likes, you feel good. You stop posting, the likes disappear, you feel discouraged. This emotional roller coaster disrupts consistency. But when your progress is private, your only fuel is discipline. Your only comparison is who you were yesterday. Your only focus is improving your craft, your skills, your habits. This creates unstoppable forward movement. Another overlooked aspect of mastery is environment. When you share too much, you invite opinions, negative, neutral, or uninformed. These opinions shape your environment. They influence your decisions, even when you don't intend them to. But when your growth is silent, your environment consists only of your vision, your mindset, your discipline, and your purpose. This purity creates a mental climate where mastery can thrive. You protect your energy. You protect your ambition. You protect your focus. Subhook: your environment isn't where you are, it is what you allow into your mind. There will always be distractions, trends, opinions, criticism, validation-seeking, comparison, doubt. But silence shields you from them. It allows you to direct all your energy toward the skill you are developing. Over time, this creates a level of competence that becomes undeniable. And once competence becomes undeniable, recognition becomes inevitable. Not because you chased it, but because you earned it. Mastery also requires self-correction. In silence, you can evaluate your progress honestly. You can admit where you need work without fear of embarrassment. You can critique yourself without defensiveness. This honest self-correction accelerates improvement. Instead of hiding weaknesses, you confront them. Instead of defending mistakes, you learn from them. Instead of pretending to know everything, you stay teachable. Subhook: staying teachable is the key to staying unstoppable. As you deepen your mastery, something powerful begins to happen internally. You start trusting yourself. You no longer ask whether you can achieve something. You know you can because you've already built the skill through consistent practice. You stop doubting your timeline. You stop questioning your decisions. You stop needing reassurance. You become grounded, steady, and capable. This inner strength becomes one of the greatest benefits of silent self-improvement. Eventually, your mastery grows so strong that it reveals itself naturally. You won't need to announce anything. You won't need to prove anything. You won't need to justify your journey. People will see the results in your actions, your competence, your confidence, your execution. They will recognize your growth even if you never mentioned it. And when they ask how you achieved it, you won't need to give them a long explanation. The truth is simple. Mastery is built in silence. Recognition is earned in public. Chapter 5. There is a moment in every journey when you realize that your biggest enemy is not the world, not the competition, not the circumstances, but your own distractions. Distraction is the silent thief of potential. It takes your focus, your energy, and your time without you noticing. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they are constantly pulled away from their priorities. To win in silence, you must first master the skill of defending your attention. Subhook: how much further would you be right now if you gave your goals the same attention you give your distractions? The truth is that your life moves in the direction of your strongest focus. If your attention is scattered, so is your progress. If your focus is sharp, your results become sharp. Distraction is not always loud. Sometimes it comes in quiet forms. Unnecessary conversations, pointless scrolling, comparing yourself to others, chasing trends, or trying to impress people who don't contribute to your growth. These small distractions, repeated daily, drain the momentum you need for serious progress. Silence forces you to confront these distractions. When you commit to working privately, you become more aware of what steals your time and what strengthens your direction. You begin to notice the difference between activity and productivity. You stop filling your hours with noise and start filling them with intentional action. You begin to value depth over speed, consistency over excitement, purpose over entertainment. Subhook: focus is not just something you have, it's something you protect. One of the biggest causes of distraction is the pressure to appear active. People want to look like they are constantly doing something, constantly grinding, constantly busy. But busyness does not equal progress. In fact, busyness often becomes an excuse to avoid the real work, the deep, focused effort that actually moves you forward. Silence eliminates this pressure. When you stop performing for others, you stop pretending to be productive. You start doing the real work quietly and consistently. Another powerful distraction comes from comparing yourself to others. Comparison pulls your mind into someone else's life instead of your own. It creates doubt, insecurity, and unnecessary competition. When you remain quiet about your journey, you naturally stop comparing your progress to others. You no longer feel the need to catch up, match someone's pace, or mirror their achievements. Your only competition becomes your previous self. Subhook: the moment you stop comparing, you start accelerating. Distraction also shows up in the form of emotional reactions. When you constantly talk about your goals, you expose yourself to unnecessary opinions. Some people will doubt you. Some will question your choices. Some will give advice they aren't qualified to give. These opinions don't just distract you, they redirect your entire mindset. But when you build in silence, you shield your goals from these emotional disruptions. You no longer allow someone else's fear to shape your decisions. Silence gives you clarity. When you quiet the world, you can finally hear your own thoughts. You can think deeper, plan sharper, and act more purposefully. You stop rushing. You start strategizing. You stop reacting. You start executing. This shift in mental space is what allows goals to transform from ideas into realities. Subhook: your mind becomes powerful the moment you stop letting everything enter it. Another major distraction is the need for immediate gratification. The world today is built on quick rewards, likes, comments, shares, compliments. Each one gives a temporary boost, but they also weaken long-term discipline. When you operate in silence, you remove this temptation for quick approval. You no longer chase sudden validation. You focus on long-term achievement, not momentary applause. This patience becomes a competitive edge that most people cannot develop because they are addicted to being seen. Distraction also comes in the form of habits. Many people have routines that sabotage their progress without them realizing it. Staying up too late. Waking up without direction. Starting the day with mindless scrolling. Allowing the smallest disruptions to dictate their mood. Silence encourages structure. When you are serious about your private mission, you naturally begin to build habits that support your growth. You become protective of your mornings, selective with your evenings, and intentional with every hour in between. Subhook: you cannot build a powerful future with weak daily habits. Another truth emerges when you eliminate distractions. Your mind becomes more resilient. You develop stronger focus. You stop being emotionally scattered. You stop being thrown off by minor setbacks. You stop allowing other people's actions to control your productivity. This resilience becomes one of your greatest assets. While others waste time worrying, reacting, or getting discouraged, you move forward with steady determination. Silence also helps you conserve your mental energy. Your mind has limited bandwidth each day. If you spend it on distractions, You weaken your ability to think deeply and execute effectively. But when you limit those distractions, your mind becomes sharper, faster, clearer. You begin solving problems more efficiently. You begin generating better ideas. You begin understanding yourself on a deeper level. This mental clarity compounds over time, elevating your progress far beyond what scattered effort could ever achieve. Subhook: a focused mind accomplishes more in 1 hour than a distracted mind accomplishes in 1 day. Eventually, you reach a point where distraction no longer controls you. You control your attention. You become intentional with everything. What you read, what you watch, who you speak to, how you spend your free time, and what environments you allow yourself into. People may not see these decisions, but they will see the results. The discipline you build internally becomes visible externally in your growth, your confidence, your performance, and your transformation. As you minimize distractions, your progress accelerates. You become someone who finishes what you start. Someone who follows through. Someone who is no longer held back by unnecessary noise. Someone who understands that focus is not just a tool, it is a weapon. A weapon that separates the average from the exceptional, the talkers from the doers, the distracted from the disciplined. Subhook: your ability to focus is your greatest competitive advantage. Silence amplifies this advantage. It gives you the space to work deeply, grow consistently, and move intentionally. It removes the chaos around you and strengthens the clarity within you. And over time, the combination of silence and focus transforms your entire life. Chapter 6. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is alignment. It is the quiet space where your mind finally has room to stretch, reorganize itself, and figure out what truly matters. Most people never experience this level of clarity because they fill every moment with noise, conversations, opinions, updates, and explanations. They talk so much about what they want to do that they never create the energy to actually do it. The ones who rise above the crowd learn that silence is a form of strength, a tool that sharpens focus and fuels unstoppable progress. When you choose silence over constant explanation, you regain control of your power. You stop leaking energy through unnecessary conversations and start directing that energy toward work that moves you forward. This shift alone separates you from the majority of people who rely on validation to stay motivated. Your progress becomes your motivation, not the reaction of others. And when motivation comes from within, nobody can take it from you. A powerful truth emerges when you embrace this mentality. Not everyone deserves access to your plans. Some people will misunderstand them, some will doubt them, and some will attempt to dim your ambition because your growth exposes their stagnation. Protecting your plans isn't secrecy, it's strategy. You cannot expect an average mind to understand a vision written for an uncommon life. Your silence is your filter, ensuring that only the right people qualify to see your results. Every time you resist the urge to explain yourself, you strengthen your internal discipline. This discipline becomes a habit. You begin to act with intention. You work quietly, you adjust silently, and you rise without warning. The power of this approach is that you never waste time managing the expectations of others. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. You simply show up, do the work, improve, and leave evidence in the form of results. That evidence speaks louder than any speech ever could. As you build in silence, you also free yourself from external pressure. People cannot judge what they do not know, and they cannot interfere with what they cannot see. This gives you room to experiment, fail, learn, restart, and evolve without feeling watched. Progress grows faster when it grows privately. And the more you progress, the more your confidence expands, not because someone approved of you, but because you proved your own potential to yourself, quietly and consistently. Here's a reminder worth repeating. Silence is not isolation. Silence is elevation. Instead of being surrounded by noise, you surround yourself with purpose. Instead of being absorbed in conversations that drain you, you commit to actions that build you. Instead of waiting for someone to tell you whether your dreams are realistic, you chase them until they become your reality. This mindset shift changes everything, because the world starts recognizing you by the results of your discipline, not the volume of your announcements. But this path requires courage. It takes courage to be the one who doesn't brag, who doesn't overshare, who doesn't chase validation. It takes courage to keep your head down while everyone else is performing for attention. It takes courage to trust the process when nobody sees it but you. And it takes courage to believe that your hard work will reward you even when the journey feels slow and invisible. This courage is the defining trait of people who win in public because they focused in silence. What most people never realize is that your silence creates curiosity. The less you say, the more they watch. The more they watch, the more your results speak for you. And when you finally appear with achievements built through quiet dedication, those achievements carry an aura of authority that talking could never produce. You didn't tell them you were leveling up, they discovered it. And that discovery leaves a deeper impact than any declaration ever could. Here is a subhook that you must internalize. If they don't know your next move, they can't block it. This principle has protected countless dreams from premature death. When you guard your plans, you guard your momentum. When you guard your momentum, you guard your destiny. Silence becomes a shield that keeps distractions away and keeps your focus sharp. Another subhook essential to this chapter is, small minds discuss people. Average minds discuss plans. Great minds execute. Choosing silence automatically elevates you to the category of execution. You move differently because you think differently. You think differently because you value your mission more than attention. And this difference becomes your competitive advantage. Every great transformation in your life begins with disciplined solitude. It is in the moments when you quietly study, train, work, and improve that real growth happens. And as your growth compounds, you become the kind of person who doesn't need to announce. Your presence communicates your evolution. Your actions radiate confidence. Your results reflect your seriousness. Your consistency speaks a language louder than words. In the end, the world remembers those who delivered, not those who described. Your silence today becomes the applause you receive tomorrow. The people who doubted you will eventually ask how you did it. The ones who ignored you will eventually want to learn from you. And the ones who underestimated you will eventually realize your silence was not weakness, it was strategy. Stay focused. Stay quiet. Stay committed. Let them talk. You're not here to impress them, you're here to surpass them. And you will. Because while they were talking, you were working. And while they were guessing, you were growing. And while they were watching, you were winning. Chapter 7. The most powerful people in the world operate with invisible energy. They do not announce every plan. They do not share every goal. They do not chase validation for the work they have not yet mastered. Instead, they focus silently, act deliberately, and allow their results to speak for them. This is not a tactic of arrogance, it is a strategy of leverage. The fewer people know about your next move, the more effective your action becomes. Silence is not absence, it is precision. Subhook: what could you achieve if no one's opinions could interfere with your focus? When you share your ambitions prematurely, you invite distractions, doubts, and expectations. Even well-meaning advice can derail your progress. When others know your intentions, they unconsciously set standards, offer unsolicited opinions, or question your methods. Each of these interruptions chips away at your momentum. Silence prevents this leakage. It shields your energy and ensures that every ounce of effort you expend strengthens your trajectory rather than fuels someone else's input. Subhook: the quieter you work, the louder your results become. Focus in silence develops an internal accountability system. When no one is watching, excuses no longer work. The only person you can blame for underperformance is yourself. This self-reliance creates a mindset of ownership that becomes unstoppable. People who constantly announce their plans rely on external accountability. Those who act silently rely solely on their commitment. Over time, this single difference separates the achievers from the dreamers, the leaders from the followers. Silence also cultivates patience. Progress is rarely linear. Growth takes time, repetition, and persistence. If you are constantly seeking acknowledgement, you may quit prematurely when recognition does not arrive. By building privately, you learn to appreciate incremental improvement. You develop the ability to persist when nobody notices, which compounds into exponential advantage. The small, unnoticed actions eventually generate results that are undeniable. Subhook: consistency compounds, but only when it remains uninterrupted. Another key benefit of quiet execution is emotional independence. When you stop seeking validation, your confidence stops depending on others' opinions. You develop a self-contained belief system rooted in your capabilities, not applause. This mental independence shields you from discouragement and external pressure. It allows you to move forward regardless of criticism, envy, or misunderstanding. You no longer bend to the expectations of others. Instead, you set your own standards and consistently surpass them. Subhook: confidence built in silence cannot be shaken by noise. Discipline is amplified in this environment. Daily actions, repeated privately, shape character in ways that no public announcement can replicate. Every morning you rise and perform the work while the world sleeps, you reinforce habits that compound. Every setback you silently overcome teaches resilience. Every decision made without seeking approval strengthens decisiveness. Over time, these invisible habits become visible results. Others will notice, but only after you have built a foundation strong enough to sustain attention. Operating quietly also gives you strategic advantage. When your intentions are known, people can predict, compete, or sabotage. When they are unknown, you maintain control. You can pivot, adapt, and execute with precision without interference. Your competitors see outcomes but cannot trace the preparation behind them. This element of unpredictability becomes a tactical edge that amplifies the impact of your efforts. Subhook: mastery thrives where attention is focused, not where noise is loud. Silence does not imply isolation. It implies purpose. By dedicating uninterrupted time to growth, you enhance your skills, refine your methods, and sharpen your judgment. You learn to discern between what matters and what is merely distracting. You begin to value depth over speed, quality over quantity, and action over explanation. This selective focus naturally accelerates achievement, as every effort directly contributes to progress rather than diffusing energy. Moreover, quiet focus strengthens mental clarity. Constantly explaining your goals or defending your vision scatters cognitive resources. Your attention is divided between executing and justifying. By working silently, your cognitive energy is fully devoted to creation and problem-solving. Ideas flow more freely, strategies form more coherently, and decisions become sharper. Mental clarity is a compounding advantage that is impossible to replicate with talk alone. Subhook: your mind is your most powerful asset. Protect it with silence. Eventually, the combination of patience, discipline, focus, and independence leads to results that surprise everyone. Recognition arrives not because you advertised your efforts, but because your achievements cannot be ignored. People may have underestimated you, doubted you, or ignored your potential, but your consistent, quiet work leaves evidence that speaks louder than words. Your performance becomes undeniable, and the impact resonates farther than the announcements ever could. Finally, remember this principle: talking creates expectations, action creates results. The fewer people know about your work, the fewer obstacles are created by their opinions. Your silence becomes a tool of empowerment, a shield for your energy, and a pathway to influence. When the time comes to reveal what you have built, the result is not just achievement. It is authority, credibility, and respect earned through deliberate action rather than verbal promises. Subhook: focus, discipline, and silence together become a force the world cannot ignore. To win in public, first master the art of silent preparation. Learn to operate invisibly while growing immeasurably. Protect your energy, commit to unseen work, and develop an internal system of accountability. Let your results eventually do the talking. When they do, they will speak with authority, impact, and permanence that words alone could never achieve. Chapter 8. Success is never about who talks the loudest. It is about who acts the smartest. People often equate visibility with progress, assuming that those who broadcast their plans are ahead. The reality is the opposite. Those who shout often have shallow foundations, while those who build quietly develop depth, resilience, and competence. Silence allows you to work without distraction, learn without interruption, and grow without the pressure of public opinion. Sub-hook: have you ever noticed that the loudest people rarely deliver the biggest results? When you focus in silence, every action is intentional. You stop wasting energy convincing others that you are serious and start channeling that energy directly into your work. This is the point where efficiency meets effectiveness. Every minute, every effort, every decision is aligned with your ultimate goal. You remove the unnecessary noise and maximize the impact of each step forward. This concentrated effort compounds faster than any attention-seeking strategy. Subhook: energy is your most valuable resource. Where you direct it determines your results. Silence also forces you to become self-motivated. When no one is watching, there is no applause to fuel your momentum. There are no likes, comments, or external validation to create temporary spikes of motivation. Instead, your drive must come from within, grounded in discipline, commitment, and a clear vision. This self-motivation becomes unshakable because it is not dependent on fluctuating emotions or external approval. It is consistent, reliable, and unstoppable. One of the most underestimated advantages of quiet execution is strategic timing. When your actions are invisible, you have the freedom to prepare thoroughly. You can experiment, iterate, and perfect without the pressure of immediate judgment. Publicly shared plans often invite interference, opinions, doubts, or comparisons, which slow progress. By remaining silent, you maintain control over your timeline, executing only when you are fully ready to maximize impact. Subhook: timing is the silent multiplier of your efforts. Another benefit of building in silence is the development of resilience. Most people seek support before attempting something difficult. They wait for encouragement or approval to proceed. But true achievers do not wait. They cultivate strength internally. By working quietly, you learn to trust yourself, rely on your own judgment, and persevere even when challenges arise. This resilience is amplified by the absence of constant scrutiny, allowing you to recover, adjust, and continue without losing confidence. Subhook: strength is forged in private, revealed in results. Silence also heightens creativity. When you are not constantly explaining your ideas, defending your methods, or responding to others, your mind is free to explore deeper solutions. You can think critically, innovate without fear, and solve problems without external pressure. Noise distracts, silence clarifies. And clarity is the foundation of innovation and mastery. The world tends to reward execution, not explanation. People admire results but rarely appreciate the process. Talking about your goals may temporarily make you look productive, but results are the only lasting measure of success. Those who focus silently understand this principle intuitively. Outcomes, not announcements, define influence, respect, and authority. Subhook: stop talking, start executing, and let your work define your reputation. Operating in silence also protects your mental energy. Each conversation about your plans drains focus and splits attention. Every explanation consumes emotional and cognitive resources that could otherwise be invested in deep work. By reducing unnecessary exposure, you conserve energy for what matters most. This concentration allows you to achieve more in hours than others achieve in days, simply because you are focused, uninterrupted, and fully engaged. Another critical advantage of silence is unpredictability. When no one knows your next move, you maintain a competitive edge. Competitors cannot anticipate your strategy, obstacles cannot be manipulated, and unnecessary interference is minimized. Your work gains an element of surprise, giving it amplified impact when it is finally revealed. The fewer people are aware of your process, the more powerful your results appear. Subhook: unseen preparation becomes unstoppable performance. Finally, silence builds credibility over time. Results achieved quietly carry more weight than promises made loudly. When others witness the evidence of your commitment and skill, their perception shifts. The impact of your work resonates more profoundly because it cannot be discounted as self-promotion. True respect and recognition emerge naturally from consistent, private effort, proving that silent focus leads to public influence. Subhook: let results be your voice, let action be your announcement. To master this approach, prioritize invisible progress over visible approval. Work consistently, protect your energy, refine your skills, and develop self-reliance. Avoid the temptation to explain your goals prematurely, and trust that the compound effect of disciplined silence will deliver extraordinary outcomes. Your quiet efforts are not wasted, they are building the foundation for achievements that will command attention without requiring a single word. Subhook: the greatest victories are prepared in the quiet hours when no one is watching. Chapter 9. Success is built on a foundation of unseen work. Most people focus on visibility. They want praise, recognition, and attention. They announce their goals, broadcast their efforts, and seek approval before results exist. But this approach is flawed. True achievement is invisible until it is undeniable. Those who act silently build momentum that cannot be matched. They move forward without distraction, without pressure, and without external interference. Silence becomes their secret weapon. Subhook: what would happen if you stopped announcing and started achieving? When you choose silence, you protect your energy. Every conversation about your plans leaks motivation. Every explanation dilutes focus. Every attempt to convince others consumes mental bandwidth. By working quietly, you preserve these resources, directing them toward actual progress. The energy you conserve compounds into skill, discipline, and consistent action. Over time, it becomes a force that others notice only when the results are impossible to ignore. Subhook: your energy is too valuable to waste on explaining what you can accomplish in action. Silence fosters patience. The world rewards persistence, not promises. Many quit too early because they seek validation rather than results. When you operate privately, you are free to fail, experiment, and refine without scrutiny. You learn to trust the process and respect the timeline necessary to achieve mastery. Patience in silence develops endurance, and endurance compounds into long-term advantage. Subhook: endurance distinguishes those who succeed from those who fade too soon. Operating quietly also strengthens your internal accountability. With no audience to impress, excuses lose their appeal. There is no one to placate, no one to answer to, except yourself. This builds mental toughness. You learn to meet your own standards rather than chasing approval. The habits you develop in this environment are self-sustaining. They do not require reinforcement from external applause, praise, or recognition. Subhook: self-reliance is a competitive edge the loud cannot replicate. Another major benefit of silence is freedom from comparison. When your progress is public, the temptation to measure yourself against others is constant. Social pressure, envy, and misplaced competition interfere with growth. Silence removes this distraction. You focus only on your own improvement, your own pace, and your own trajectory. This clarity allows exponential progress because your energy is devoted entirely to development rather than perception management. Subhook: comparison is a thief of progress. Silence guards your focus. Discipline is magnified in quiet execution. Every repeated action, every incremental improvement, every private decision builds compounding momentum. These are not flashy moves. They are the invisible work of high achievers. While others are busy performing for attention, you are quietly stacking skills, knowledge, and resilience. By the time results appear, they are so undeniable that no explanation is required. Silence also cultivates strategic advantage. When people cannot anticipate your actions, they cannot counter them. Competitors, critics, and detractors lose influence over your path. Unseen preparation ensures your efforts strike at the right moment, maximizing impact. Your unpredictability becomes a strength, allowing your work to create surprise and admiration simultaneously. Subhook: the less they know, the more powerful you become. Operating quietly develops focus. Without constant explanations, you allocate attention entirely to the work that matters. Deep work becomes possible. Creativity flourishes. Problem-solving accelerates. Noise disappears. You begin to execute with clarity, precision, and efficiency that are impossible for distracted minds to match. Focus in silence allows you to achieve more in a single day than most achieve in weeks. Another advantage of silent progress is credibility. Achievements made without announcement carry more weight than those constantly publicized. When you finally reveal the outcome, the impact is amplified because it is the product of unseen effort, not a marketing performance. People recognize true skill, dedication, and discipline when they see it, and respect follows naturally. Subhook: results earned quietly are respected universally. Finally, the power of silence lies in its compounding effect. Every day you act without announcing, you strengthen habits, build discipline, and expand resilience. Over time, this builds a foundation that is unshakable, a trajectory that is unstoppable, and a reputation that is undeniable. The quiet work you perform today becomes the victories you celebrate tomorrow. Subhook: the loud announce, the disciplined deliver. To win in public, embrace silence in your process. Protect your energy, sharpen your focus, build self-reliance, and allow results to carry your voice. Let your work accumulate invisibly, and let the impact speak when the time is right. The greatest achievements are born in quiet dedication, nurtured through patience, and revealed through undeniable results. Chapter 10. The final step in mastering the art of focus in silence is understanding the power of compounding effort. Every action you take in private, no matter how small it may seem, adds to a momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. Most people underestimate the effect of consistent, unseen work. They expect overnight results, public recognition, or immediate validation. But true achievement is built silently, brick by brick, until the structure is strong enough to stand on its own. Subhook: what would your life look like if every small effort you made today compounded into unstoppable success tomorrow? When you embrace silence, you gain clarity of purpose. You no longer seek to impress others or defend your decisions. Instead, your energy is devoted entirely to execution. Every hour, every effort, every choice becomes intentional. The focus you develop in these quiet moments magnifies your capabilities, allowing you to achieve more than you ever thought possible. The loud may work harder to be seen, but the disciplined work smarter to be effective. Subhook: focus beats noise every single time. Silence also builds resilience. Challenges are inevitable, but the quiet achiever faces them without distraction or complaint. When your work is private, setbacks are absorbed, lessons are learned, and adjustments are made without outside judgment. The noise of criticism, doubt, or unnecessary input is eliminated, leaving only your ability to adapt, persist, and grow. This resilience is cultivated over time and becomes a key differentiator between those who succeed and those who fail. Another major benefit of operating quietly is the development of internal accountability. Without an audience, excuses no longer serve their purpose. Every failure, every missed step, is evaluated honestly. Every victory is celebrated internally rather than broadcasted prematurely. This self-reliance strengthens character, discipline, and focus, creating a mindset that is unshakable and results-oriented. Subhook: when nobody is watching, the person you become defines your destiny. One of the most important aspects of silent success is the avoidance of premature exposure. Sharing plans before they are ready opens the door to criticism, doubt, and interference. By keeping your journey private, you control timing, maintain strategic advantage, and protect your energy. Your work can evolve without external pressures, and when it is finally revealed, it has impact, authority, and credibility that cannot be disputed. Subhook: the right reveal beats constant announcements every time. Operating in silence also sharpens mental clarity. Without the constant need to explain, justify, or defend, your mind is free to focus entirely on execution. Creativity flourishes. Strategy becomes clearer. Decision-making improves. You are no longer reacting to external noise. You are proactively shaping your future. This clarity accelerates results, while distractions slow everyone else down. Subhook: your mind is your most powerful asset. Protect it, sharpen it, and let it guide your actions. Another critical advantage of silent focus is unpredictability. When no one knows your next move, you maintain a tactical edge. Competitors cannot anticipate your strategy, doubters cannot undermine your confidence, and unnecessary opinions cannot steer your decisions. Your progress remains unstoppable because it is insulated from outside influence. By the time results appear, they are fully formed, undeniable, and impactful. Discipline, patience, and focus compound quietly over time. Each day spent working without announcement, each improvement made privately, each obstacle overcome internally builds a foundation of success that cannot be replicated by talk alone. These cumulative efforts eventually produce results so profound that the world takes notice, not because of noise, but because of evidence. Subhook: the compound effect of silent, consistent effort is unstoppable. Finally, understand that silence is not a lack of action, it is deliberate strategy. Every quiet hour, every private effort, every unseen decision contributes to a trajectory that will eventually reveal itself in unstoppable momentum. By protecting your energy, focusing relentlessly, and executing with discipline, you set yourself apart. Recognition, influence, and achievement follow naturally, not because you demanded them, but because your results demand attention. Subhook: talkers fade, doers endure, silent achievers dominate. To conclude, the journey of focusing in silence and winning in public is about reclaiming control of your energy, sharpening your focus, building resilience, and trusting the process. Work quietly. Improve consistently. Avoid distractions. Strengthen habits. Let results accumulate. And when the time comes, your achievements will speak louder than any explanation ever could. Your silence is not emptiness, it is power, preparation, and the path to extraordinary success.